we are now going through the Satipatthana Sutta, and yesterday we read through the mindfulness of body, and basically in the meditation, the important is to directly observe, not making judgments. And like we talked about, body in different states, and also, different stages of decay, and, dead body and things like that. All this is direct observation. Actually, meditation is lots of meditation is that we don't stop our awareness, our consciousness. We don't stop thoughts. We cannot stop that. But we also, do not become too much overpowered by our, what can you say, usual kind of, what can you say, thoughts of, judgment and, all kind of good and bad and right and wrong and all kind of, things, the past and future, and, because those brings all our emotions, and therefore, problems and sufferings and things like that. So we are learning to just be very, very clear, but very calm. Not trying to, sometimes people, I think, do not understand when we say that calm your mind. When you say calm your mind, sometimes people seem to understand that in calming my mind, I have to have no thoughts, and I can't I have to make my mind completely blank. That's not really the idea. Calming the mind is just being in the present moment and observe whatever is happening and be very clear, but not make, maybe judgment is, I don't know whether it's the right word or not, but, not say it's good, it's not good, it's right, it's not right, but kind of, it's better than this, not better than this, it's worse than this, this might happen, this might not happen, those kind of things, but just be, So now we come to the feeling. It's even more so, because feeling is directly linked to our, our pain and joy and, pleasure and suffering and, all those things. So therefore, we always, whenever there's a feeling, we either kind of run after it, or we run away from it. This is good feeling. I like it. I must have it. I want to have more. They said, not so good feeling. I must not have it. I should get rid of it, and I should not have it again, kind of that. And then there's a neutral feeling, I don't care, I ignore it, things like that. So those kind of things is not, it's not necessary here. When we meditate, we just, whatever feeling is there, you just directly look at it. And, like everything else, everything is, there's something, whether it's thought or feeling or, sensation, it's there, it changes, it goes away, it becomes something else, so when you are able to, observe the feelings of the feeling, then the feelings of the feeling is also as transient, as, insubstantial, and just clear experiences and something that's flowing. So in this way, we start to deeply and directly, not through conceptual, because we are using so much of our concept in these things. Anything, like if we say this is nice, then we make it very, very nice. But actually, it's not that nice, but it's, we make it very, very. And some things we say it's bad, and then we make it very, very bad. Actually, there is nothing that bad. Sometimes, we can make in our concepts quite, painful as very pleasurable. And sometimes something pleasurable also painful, So this is the meditation. So now, without too much talking about it, let us go to the sutra. This is the mindfulness of the feelings. Buddha said, bhikkhus, how does a practitioner remain established in the observation of the feelings of the feelings? Whenever the practitioner has a pleasant feeling, she's aware, I'm experiencing a pleasant feeling. The practitioner practices like this for all the feelings, whether they are pleasant, painful, or neutral. Observing when they belong to the body and when they belong to the mind. So this is also in the meditation that you, like when you did observe the body, you also, same way, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, you kind of focus on each of these places and feel, and whatever feeling is there, you feel, just observe it, but then not react, like that, you go down, 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 and every part of your body you feel, and then till to the, and then you go back. And so if there is, any feeling, you just feel that, how it changes, the feeling of the body and the feeling of the mind and things like that. So it's just, doing that the same way as we observe the body, we observe the feelings. This is how the practitioner remains established in the observation of the feelings in the feelings. Observation of the feelings from within or from without. So, or observation of feelings both from within and from without. So it's the same way, we discussed and read out in the meditation of the mindfulness of the body. In the mindfulness of the body, it was very clearly, spelled out about every part of our body, outside, inside, and things like that. So we can do that in the feeling also, and each place, whatever feeling is there, it's there, and then, how things change, how things remain in different parts of the, or if you have any particular pain or, something like that, you go down, 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 trying to really pinpoint exactly where the, pain is and things like that. Because, when you exactly try to find exactly the, the point where the pain is, sometimes you can't find it, I think many of you know this story of this great mindfulness teacher called Gwenka in India. He was an Indian businessman, and he lived in Burma because before, when England was, occupying or, under British India time, Burma was also under British, and India and Burma was the same country. So India was, very big from Burma till to Pakistan and things like that. So therefore, there are lots of Indians there also. And this man, he had a special kind of disease. He had lots of headache, and this headache was very severe. And he couldn't, sometimes, he couldn't sleep. Or it's very, very bad. And he was quite a, successful businessman. So he went everywhere, everywhere, all over the world to get treatments. And he tried to get treatments from everywhere, but he couldn't really, nothing could totally, get rid of his headache. Then one time, in Burma, he met this teacher, a meditation teacher, a monk, I think. And he told him to do this Vipassana meditation, it's mindful meditation. This mindful meditation he called Vipassana meditation. That Vipassana meditation he was doing, and especially, the mindfulness of the body and mindfulness of the feeling. And when he did that, then, after some time, his headache disappeared. And he felt, he felt very good. He felt lots of peace of mind and, also kindness and compassion. And he could understand from within himself, what the life was about and what everything is. So therefore, he was so directly affected by this meditation that he asked his teacher whether he could actually share this meditation with his employees and with his colleagues and things like that. And then the teacher said, yes, why not? And so that's how he started to share his meditation. And, this is known as Vipassana. And of course, for mindfulness is regarded as Vipassana. But it has also Vipassana and Samatha both part, but it's usually counted as Vipassana, and that's why it's known as Vipassana. And this has been very successful, especially in India and many other places. And lots of people do this meditation, even in India. And and it really helps because it's a direct, kind of working on yourself. It's not about, usually in Buddhism, we have, accumulation of merit and, all kind of things and those kind of things. He just does this meditation. And I think it's a very important thing. So there are also 10 days meditation course, things like that. And near Bombay, there's a big kind of a place where people can go and meditate and things like that. Some of my family members also went there and meditated. It was really good and useful. And he is very he wants to be very, what can you say, kind of secular, because he teaches this meditation to everybody, whether you belong to Buddhism or, Hindus or Christian, whoever, who have no religion or whoever, he teaches. But he also teaches, other parts of the Buddhism, also like the Eightfold Path and things like that. Very good. But sometimes they are a little bit too, some of his students, a little bit too, what can you say, too secular, I think. Because in India, in Sikkim, once this group came to me and said, can they use my shrine room? And I said, of course, why not? And then they used my shrine room to meditate. And in my shrine room, there is a Buddha image. And they said, we have to put a curtain across it because they cannot see the Buddha image. So they put a curtain in front of the Buddha image. And they're all talking about, Dharma taught by Buddha, but they still have to put a curtain in. I thought that was a little bit kind of too much, but they did that. And I was very happy that they used this. Anyway, so this is, what it's very famous, and I think many of you know about this. So they have this, really good, how can you say, instructions on how to do this kind of meditation. So I think then it says, this is how the practitioner remains established in the observation of the feelings, in the feeling, observation of the feelings from within, from without, or observation of the feelings both from within and from without. She remains established in the observation of the process of coming to be in the feelings, how this feeling is happening or arising, or the process of dissolution of the feeling, like how that feeling comes, how that feeling kind of goes, and things like that. It's very interesting, because if you look at these feelings coming, both body sensations as well as the mind, it comes from nowhere and goes nowhere. It just happens. So you can really understand a little bit how kind of non-substantial even these feelings are. Happiness, unhappiness, feeling of hurt, feeling of joy, feeling of peace, whatever feeling it is, and also outer, inner, any kind of feelings of any, because you don't have to feel only good and bad, or pleasure and pain. We can also have all kinds of different feelings and neutral feelings and things like that. Or she's mindful of the fact there is feeling here. Until understanding and full awareness come about, she remains established in the observation, free, not caught in any worldly considerations. This looking at the feelings is not like, as I said before, trying to judge or trying to categorize too much or trying to kind of, analyze too much. Just, becoming aware and feel and observe, and not caught in, I like this, I don't like this, it's good, it's not good, things like that. That's how to practice observation of the feelings in the feeling of bhikkhus. So this is, that's about the mindfulness of the feeling. Although, of course, in actual meditation, you can do the meditation like you do the meditation on the mindfulness of the body. And as we discussed, all these meditations, it's most of the time, people do it in sitting down, as it is taught in the beginning, sitting cross-legged, or, sitting whatever way, in the solitude, or under the trees, or in the open air, or in a room, or, things like that. But it's not mandatory that we have to sit only to do the meditation. As mentioned, maybe here also somewhere, you can meditate while sitting, you can meditate while standing, you can meditate while walking, You can meditate while lying down, or in any different positions of the body. And because meditation or not meditation is only one thing. If we are aware and mindful, we are meditating. If we are not aware and not mindful, we are not meditating. That's it. And we don't need actually too much of knowledge or too much of an information and things like that. It's just being there and aware and clear. And when we directly are aware, because we don't judge, we don't speculate, we don't go into the history, we don't think about, then, it's direct perception. Direct perception does not have too much concepts, and therefore, it's peaceful. Actually, it's peaceful. It can be very peaceful. Things like that. So this is the main understanding. So then we go to the next, the mindful of the mind. So when in this translation, he has also made a kind of a parenthesis and said mental formations. So it's not only, mind means all this, mind is, what is mind? I think sometimes it is important, I think, to discuss what is mind. Because in the modern education, mind is never mentioned, almost, right from the, I don't know, from the kindergarten to the PhD, I don't think people really too much talk about mind. And so therefore, most of people have never too much thought about mind, So, it's a little bit an area in the modern education, what we call scientific education, a kind of a hidden thing, it's kind of even the study of psychology is always associated with the kind of nervous system and, brain and things like that. It should be to do with the mind, but it is a lot to do with, and not so much, because I think people don't really understand mind. So, it's very simple, actually. Mind is, the thing with which we feel, with which we know, with which we understand, with which we actually experience everything. That's the mind. Yeah. So it's a very big, what can you say, part of ourselves. Actually, it's the whole part of ourselves. We cannot understand anything. We cannot, we cannot know anything without our mind. If you say that there is nothing called mind, there's also mind is saying, so therefore, mind is thing that, all the thoughts happening, all the emotions happening, all the, all the knowing and, activities that happens in our consciousness, that's mind. So it's a very big thing. It's a, but, so I think this is something we need to. I thought I need to mention this because I've come across lots of people who actually never thought about mind. So what is mind? Is more or less talking about what am I, kind of, because when I say I am, actually we are talking about the mind, because, what is it that I call myself? What is it that I identify as me? And that's basically mind, because, body is there, but body is the body that your mind understand as me. So therefore, mind is something important, and I think people need to a little bit think about this. So here it says, bhikkhus, how does a practitioner remain established in the observation of the mind in the mind? So this is, this mindful kind of meditation. When this mind is desiring, the practitioner is aware. The mind is desiring. When his mind is not desiring, he is aware the mind is not desiring. So we are just, we sit down and like the feeling, we look at the consciousness itself, the awareness, the consciousness, the mind itself, and then what's going on in my consciousness, in my mind. If there is a kind of I like this, I want this, then I say yes, there's a desire. When they say there's nothing called I want it, I don't desire it, then it's okay. That's what I understand. So he is aware in the same way concerning a hating mind, a confused mind, a collected mind, a dispersed mind, an expansive mind, a narrow mind. Kind of when you are angry mind, like, hated mind, that you have lots of, anger and hatred and, a feeling of like, wanting to harm or something like that, then you understand that. You look at that. We are not judging. We are not saying I should be doing this or I should not be doing this. I just observe that. And this is very important because, when we like feeling also, when we are observing this, then we cannot become, we cannot become a slave of that. We cannot be controlled by that. Sometimes it is instructed that if you are observing the river, you cannot be drowning in the river, because if you are drowning in the river, you cannot observe it. Yeah. So in the same way, if you feel, if you see, if you are aware that there is anger or there is hatred or whatever, and you look at it, you don't look at it with the eye, but you feel it or you experience that, then you cannot be controlled by the anger, because you are observing it. So therefore, you become a little bit, distanced from the anger, and so therefore, anger cannot, control you. So therefore, anger necessarily becomes less strong, and so therefore it could actually, after some time, it disappears and something else comes. And this is actually one of the most important ways of, working with our negative emotions also. Because if you can really just observe it and without judgment or, any kind of concepts, just watch what is there and not trying to wish away, not trying to, run away, not trying to indulge in it, but just observe it. Then, you become, what can you say? You can't drown in it. You can't be absorbed by that. You can't. So it's a very, very powerful way of working, on all our negative emotions and positive, whatever emotion is there and whatever, mental factors, the mental formations happen, whatever, we call it mental formations, means all the emotions and concepts and things like that. So if you do that, then they kind of sometimes, we, in the terms of like Mahamudra, we call it self-liberating the thoughts and emotions. This is, the same. I think it's the same thing on how to do that. It's just different names. So therefore, whatever thing is happening, whether it's, hating mind, confused mind, collected mind means the mind that is, that's, what can you say? Not dispersed, but really kind of, which is clear mind, clear and, unscattered mind, that's collected mind. Dispersed mind means like, you don't know, so many things happening that I don't know what's happening. Expansive mind is, very broad mind, and narrow mind is, very narrow mind. If only this is my way and this is what I believe and I cannot believe anything else, kind of narrow mind. And the highest mind and the concentrated and liberated mind, highest mind means different levels of meditation also, and very concentrated means very focused and very like, what can you say? Mind is very undistracted mind. And then, mind totally liberated and, whatever, like, like free and more or less like enlightened, I think. This is how the practitioner remains established in the observation of the mind in the mind. Observation of the mind from within or from without, or observation of the mind both from within and from without. He remains established in the observation of the process of coming to be in the mind, or the process of dissolution in the mind, or both in the process of coming to be and the process of dissolution. How it arises and how it dissolves and things like that, where it remains. We talk about a little bit this, both in the body and feeling also. And, usually in the instructions, in different traditions, like, in like, maybe you can say Tibetan, or, like Mahamudra, Dzogchen, and also, Madhyamika. Lots of emphasis is given on the mind, mindfulness, how to look at the mind, how to see the mind, how to, because it's understood that, mind is the most important thing. Mind is what controls everything. Even the body and feeling is actually controlled by the mind. When mind says you should do this, whether it's a positive action or a negative action with body or with speech, unless mind says do this or not do this, it doesn't do. But it doesn't do anything unless mind gives, order or, asked or feels. So therefore, everything is controlled by our mind. And if we really, truly understand our mind, we understand everything, because everything is, almost everything is kind of controlled or, functioning from the mind. So therefore, mind is the main kind of topic. So therefore, we talk a lot about the mind in Tibetan tradition. We look at the mind a lot, and then we also examine the mind a lot, and things like that. And but of course, we also talk about for mindfulness, and all these are also important, but things like that. So therefore, when we look at the mind, so we always say, where does this mind comes from? Where does it remain, and where does it go? This is also a very, very important and very common and basic instruction, to observe. All these, in what we call as analytical meditations, all these what we call analytical meditations is also about that. Actually, it's being mindful. It's not totally to kind of make an intellectual kind of concepts, but it is more to, to directly observe, and then, after that observation, to kind of to let that be there. It's not like holding on to a concept. It's not saying that, oh yes, mind is emptiness. Yes, mind is empty, or something like that, because that is what Buddha always said is not very useful, because if you say mind is emptiness, then it becomes a concept. So therefore, it's just a concept, and it's just a designation. And so that doesn't really, that's not the realization. That's not experience. That's a concept and a designation. However good, however proper the designation is, it's still just a concept and just a designation. So it's not an experience. So therefore, even these analytical meditations we're talking about all the time is actually has to be an experience, has to be direct observation, has to be direct, so therefore, when you a thought arises, how the thought arises, where the thought remains, or any remains or not, how it kind of disappears. If we can observe it then we understand it. Maybe we are not able to describe it, because you can't really describe these things, because whatever way you describe it, it doesn't, it doesn't truly communicate. The words cannot, we don't have adequate words to describe it. But one can experience it, So this is, so if we really directly understand this experience of how the mind is, how thoughts and emotions, because there is nothing in the mind except these arisings, thoughts and emotions and sensations and feelings, and these are all mind. And, beside this, if there's anything, there's nothing. So therefore, we really understand, we see this truly, then we understand it. So we know that its nature. So therefore, it is also said that you can't say it's there, you can't say it's not there, you can't say it's both, you can't say it's neither, therefore it's kind of beyond description, but something that could be experienced, understood. So this is, talking about the nature of the mind. So in these, whether it's the feeling or the mind, we actually, can directly experience. So what we talk about, like Mahamudra and things like that, and what we talked here, actually, at the end, comes to the same thing. This is very important to understand, because, it is said, one great Nyingma master already said this, that all these different lianas, different, different levels of teachings the Buddha made, they are all, if you look deeply into it, it comes to the same thing. He said that if there is a sutra of the, the most kind of a basic sutra, like, Shravakayana kind of sutra, and there you don't find any, any terminologies that are used in the Mahayana. You can't find most of the terminologies that are found in Vajrayana. So therefore, if you had no teachings, or not read any sutras of the Mahayana or, Vajrayana, then you won't find anything there. But he says, if you had already studied teachings on Mahayana and teachings on Vajrayana, and then you read this sutra and you find everything there without the specific terminologies and, like kind of words. So that's how the whole teaching of the Buddha is, although, certain terms and certain are not used, certain things are not so explicitly explained, but it's all there, So this is also something that needs to be understood, I think. So he remains established in the observation of the process of coming to be in the mind, or the process of dissolution in the mind, or both the process of coming to be and the process of dissolution. Or he is mindful of the fact there is mind here until understanding and full awareness comes about. He remains established in the observation, free, not caught in any worldly concentration. This is how to practice observation of the mind in the mind of bhikkhus. So that's the mindfulness of the mind in this the short, very short and concise Satipatthana Sutta, as translated by Thich Nhat Hanh. So I think I will stop here